If you look up this movie, it's categorized as a comedy, and I'm going to fight that. I don't think it is. There is some comedy in it, but I don't label this as specifically a comedy.
Yeah, because the comedy is a bit light, but I will say
Yeah.
I probably was laughing as often as I was crying in that theater. Thank God I was
Right.
alone, because there was a blubbering mess in the center of that theater. It was me.
Yeah, it just came out a couple weeks ago, so let's talk about Ghostlight.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hi, I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for finding us. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Another thing you can do to help the show support the show, hit the like, subscribe button, and tell your friends about the show. It's a little things that you can do. It's a big things for us. Of course, we do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great deals and great opportunities. And today we're talking about Ghostlight. It technically did premiere at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Film Festival a couple months ago as the last film, and I really wanted to see it, just didn't have the opportunity to go. So of course when it comes out in theater, I immediately went to see it.
Yeah. So when construction worker Dan stumbles into a local theater production of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, the tragedy of the young lovers begins to seep into his real-world loss, giving him an opportunity to meet his grief head-on.
Okay, the interesting aspect about this movie is there's not a lot of star power into it, but so you buy into the authenticity of these characters.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I don't recognize that person. So it's a lot of people that you're not familiar with. They do have some credit. I know that Dan was one of the guys who had a line in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And then his daughter, it's his daughter on the cover, the legit daughter, Catherine. Mm-hmm. I think that's his daughter.
That's his real wife too. This trifecta is a full family. That was the selling point for me. Critic Dan Merle was talking about this film, I believe, after Sundance, and he had kind of talked about how it's wild that these three people are actually related outside of it, and then related in the film. It creates that cohesiveness for the family.
Right, and adds a certain layer of authenticity. Also questions the scope of remaking art, or we're really doing things, or is it really a dynamic capturing? Are we really acting, or this is genuine?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the family in the film was trying to work through something in real life, much like the character in the play in the film.
Right. Instead of going to therapy, in the movie I'll go to therapy, and I'll get my therapy doing this in the movie rather than just paying all the money.
Yeah.
For
somewhere Christopher Nolan just heard something that's like.
Yeah. Art. I've been sold for a lot of my art teachers that art is almost therapeutic. You get the exercise of whatever the experiences that you want to do, to kind of almost vomit out all the things that you want to put on the page, an expression. And right, it's almost treated like this whole movie that going to do art is therapeutic.
Yeah, I think boiled down to its basic, there is that sensation that art matters, that creation matters, that community matters. I felt a great sense of community in this film. I've been looking a lot at films about community, about people coming together and creating like a family of sorts.
Right.
And that's really what this film is at its core, is that he's got the family he's hiding from, and he's got the family that he's running to. And he's not really telling either of them the full truth.
Right, no, like when he crafts stories, he's really good at his job. We talk about that. Mm-hmm. But personal life is not really good at it. And it's that dynamic of, well, always kind of the Americana thing. You're really good at your job, then your personal life is a wreck.
Yeah.
If you're really good at your personal life, then your job is a wreck.
Yeah.
And here he's really good at his job, and his personal life is a wreck. But then that eventually boils over to he can't do his job.
Yeah. Although let's be real though, I totally side with him yelling at the guy that was speeding through the construction zone.
Right.
I'm on his side.
I'm on his side. I'm on his side. Right. I get it too. But it's played really well because you get the introduction of Dolly DeLonge's character, and you're like, she's just this Karen that come out in the street and yells at everybody. What is she
that
doing?
introductory haircut had to have been a choice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't look like the Dolly De Leon that I knew from Triangle of Sadness just a couple years ago. The one that famously should have gotten a nomination and probably a win.
Right.
She kind of stands out in the crowd there, and I was like, it took me maybe half the movie to realize that was her.
Everybody is really authentic with their acting. I really believe that these characters are real. I love that there's not a lot of exposition dialogue. You kind of have to feel through the thread of what is going on. They don't tell you what the dynamic, the trauma that they're experiencing. You see the teenager just going out of her mind. You're like, does she need psychiatric help? What is she doing? And I love that. It's very hard to craft a story with that. I think the weakness is kind of maybe at the end of the third act after we see the play of what they wanted to do. I think that's probably the weakest part of it. But I think it's a fresh new script of something that I knew what was happening. It's a mere reflection of how do you not know when you're making Romeo and Juliet that this kind of is a reflection of your own life?
Yeah. I felt like they could have hit that dramatic irony in some ways a little bit harder.
Yes.
Because part of me was thinking the whole time, why would the daughter be so excited about him being Romeo and Juliet? Because she knows how it ends. You know, like when she finds out, when he asks her what's Romeo and Juliet, they watch it together. You'd think that would be something that would really like trigger that emotional response from her because she is aware of it. She is involved in it. I almost felt like they should have gone with a different play or a different tragedy in his life that he could have related through it.
I almost crave that more, a little more punch of the dramatic irony than just as almost just a throwaway. Oh, I'm doing this.
Because you would think very early on if one member of the family is heavily invested in the arts, that somebody would have brought up Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Because of how just closely related they are. But that's a nitpick, and I think, we're like diving in a little bit more with the dramatic irony, a nitpick. I didn't think the daughter was written all that well at the beginning. At the beginning, she was very explosive, very hateful.
One-dimensional.
I didn't buy that explosion, which is unfortunate because I think
it comes down to the
writing and not the acting there. I think she is a pretty solid actress. I saw her in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, just last year. She's been doing some good work. I just don't really know that I bought the writing of that moment.
Very much kind of cliche, but it's almost like they want to bleed the cliches into a status quo and then flush out why they're going through this process. I do like that with the introduction of the girlfriend wanted to say hi to Dan.
Yeah.
That's a great scene of just talking heads. The talking head scenes are really good. Mm-hmm. Really explosive, but because you don't have a lot of stuff. I do like the assembled cast of everybody who's in the community theater.
Oh yeah, you've got like a trope for every single one of them, but they still match. They still match like in that sense, you know?
Yeah, and understanding that a lot of these people that were in this community theater actually are centered in Chicago theater. That's where they come. Everybody, I think even Kelly O'Sullivan, that she comes from Chicago too. So this nexus of Chicago theater kind of grouping, and they get into this movie.
Yeah, which goes back to that kind of odd meta-ness of the whole thing. I mean, we even have an appearance in the film from Deanna Dunnigan, who is a Tony Award-winning actress, playing herself. She's the one washing her hands in the bathroom who compliments the daughter on her performance.
Oh my god!
She's even credited in the film as, I think, Tony Award-winning actress Deanna Dunnigan. So I thought that was an odd little place. Or you even have Keith Kupfer, I think, who plays the lead character. Yep. He actually played Judd in a musical version of Oklahoma. And so the fact that they come back and sing Oklahoma songs, like, it's that constantly, are we watching a movie or are we watching a documentary, you decide.
Very so much the same kind of fabric of Holy Motors, of him reenacting the famous movies he's famous for, but is part of his real life kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that was kind of an artsy take. This is on kind of a grounded, almost a meta of you're an actor, but you're not going to you're playing a person that's not an actor who goes into acting. It's almost recycling itself.
Yeah.
Psyching itself out, right?
Yeah, so there's that layers upon layers.
There is kind of two awkward bathroom scenes that I kind of enjoy. Where he tries to escape talking about the deposition, and he goes to the bathroom, and somebody's having an explosive episode. He's like, I can't stay here.
You know that the film is still going for comedy when someone farts in that bathroom.
Right.
You know that they're still aiming.
But he goes in there just for like a sanctuary moment, like, I just want to stay here and not go back out there. Then that happens, like, I'm leaving, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of the absurdity that grief kind of offers, in that you want to escape some of the situations that you're in, but you can't escape them. You kind of come back around on yourself. You find yourself unable to walk away from these responsibilities.
Very interesting in the summer that we have two movies really delves deep, plunges into the depth of what grief is, rather than just having somebody die in a movie and you're just crying. You have the process of the aftershocks afterwards, and this is much like Ghostlight and Tuesday. This is Tuesday's talking about it and leads up to it.
Yeah.
But this is almost the wake of it, after the wake, almost.
Yeah, these characters are kind of involved in the grief has not ended because we have not come to that conclusion, and I'm not even sure that we really get to it at the end there.
Yeah.
You know, but we at least have a character conclusion. He has grown, he has evolved, he has found a new avenue for his pain.
That's our assessment of Ghostlight. It's a really solid script, even for the small little nitpicks. I'm highly recommend it, especially if you're like an actor and you like the arts, and this is a highly recommendation for me.
Yeah, me as well. Don't let the somewhat generic, somewhat Hallmark movie synopsis make you think that this movie is going to be schmaltzy and dumb, because it is a little schmaltzy, but it's schmaltzy in that just accessible enough way. The film peels back layers. It's not one that gives you all the information up front, nor does it leave you wanting more at the end. it's a really nice symbiance of those kinds of elements. And definitely
agree.
recommendation for me as well. But now it's time for you to tell us what you thought about it. Go ahead and comment down below your thoughts on Ghostlight. What would you have suggested as a Shakespeare play for your own personal trauma? You can go ahead and find my reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
You can find my show for anywhere you find my show. And once again, thanks for watching.